What's up, Raptors fans? Welcome to the Wars Report. Today, I want to talk about why the Raptors are going to shock everyone and have an amazing offseason, and what Masai Ujiri has done to move the chess pieces around. Whether he stays with the Raptors or not, he set up the Raptors for a really nice offseason. So I'll talk about all of his moves as well as the Raptors cap flexibility as well. So before I get into the details of that, if you could please do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up. When you do that, it helps reach a larger YouTube audience. And if you could hit that subscribe button as well, it really helps this channel grow. You get a lot of Raptors content on here you don't see anywhere else, including unique videos and a lot of analysis, in-depth videos as well, guys. So let's jump right into it. So there's a lot of controversy surrounding this trade, and I want to talk about why Masai Ujiri made this trade. As we know, Norman Powell was having an amazing season, and it was really sad to see him go. But Masai Ujiri decided to move him and keep Kyle Lowry. So I want to talk about this trade in particular. Now, my initial reaction, if you've seen my previous videos, you know I wasn't happy with this trade, but when you look more into it, it makes more sense. Gary Trent Jr. is 5 years younger than Norman Powell, and he's also a restricted free agent as well, which means we can match any team's offer. We also did get Rodney Hood as well, but this was the main piece. And the reason he did this is just because it gives us more options in free agency. So we know Norman Powell is going to be commanding anywhere about $20+ million after he declines his player option. And if a team were to offer him large sums of money, he would walk for nothing, and this would be the third consecutive offseason where the Raptors would let that key piece walk for nothing. And a lot of Raptors fans would be really mad at that. But we do get someone in Gary Trent Jr. As I mentioned, he's a restricted free agent, and we have his bird rights as well. And I'll explain what those means in just a second. So if you want to have a look at the Raptors cap flexibility here, you look at the maximum cap space on the left-hand side. Those are the teams, and I want to quickly touch on this article as well, which mentions that teams will have a cap space of 115.7 million next season and a luxury tax of 140 million, meaning they can go over the cap space to re-sign their own players. So that's where bird rights comes in. So having the bird rights of someone like Gary Trent Jr. really helps because you can go out, sign free agents. So even let's pretend the Raptors are cap space is 115.7 million. They can still go over that and re-sign Gary Trent Jr. because they have his bird rights. And they can sign him to, let's say, 20 million per year, whatever they decide. But I want to talk about this information you see on the left screen. It says maximum cap space, and you see some of the teams that are ahead of the Raptors. So as we know, the Raptors were preparing to have an offseason to pursue Giannis Antetokounmpo, and there's some really nice key pieces as well. Like guys like Rudy Gobert would have been nice. Unfortunately, those guys have re-signed with their teams, so the Raptors were kind of left scrambling, or that's what we thought. This is where Masai Ujiri's plan comes in. So you look at the cap space there, and you look at the teams ahead. Realistically speaking, I don't see any key free agents going to Oklahoma City, San Antonio, or Detroit, as those teams are currently rebuilding and they have a lot of young players on that team. I think they want to focus on developing those young guys. I don't see them, so you can take those three teams out. Dallas is a nice team, but realistically, I don't know how much they can pay a key free agent with 34 million they have. I feel like they would rather go for some nice pieces to surround Luka Doncic with. So looking at teams like Chicago and New York, those are the two teams that worry me, especially New York. We know they've been the laughing stock of the NBA for quite some time, but it seems like they're doing really well this season, and they may just go out and sign two key free agents. They definitely have that cap space too. And Chicago Bulls as well. They have Zach LaVine and recently acquired Nikola Vucevic, and they have some nice key pieces there. So that's another threat to the Raptors for being a top team. I know the Raptors don't normally attract key free agents, but you look at the teams that have a lot of cap space, I don't see any of those teams below the Raptors besides Miami being a key destination for top free agents. And in Miami also, let's not forget, they have to re-sign guys like Duncan Robinson, and now they acquired Victor Oladipo as well. They have to pay him that money, so we don't know how much cap space they have or how they'll be able to re-sign those guys. So I know they have their bird rights, but I don't see them signing more than one free agent, and I don't see any free agent taking $28 million per year. more likely more. But anyways, let's focus on the Raptors and their 33 million. And I want to take a look at the next screen as well. So I want you to remember this number, 115.7 million. So looking at the Raptors cap space for next season, 2021, 2022, you see Kyle Lowry's big $30 million comes off, but then you also see some guys like Pascal Siakam, his salary goes up by 2 million, and you look at the bottom number there, 97.9 million. So as you remember, 115 million is the cap space, but let's not forget we have guys like Aaron Baines that are team option. Chris Boucher is also, I believe, a team option, including Rodney Hood. So let's say you were to decline the team option on Rodney Hood and Aaron Baines. That alone is about 18 million. And let's just pretend for a second here the Raptors go all out and are trying to really sign a free agent and they decline Chris Boucher's option as well. Personally, I wouldn't. He's a really nice bargain at 7 million. But let's say they decide to decline his option just to create some cap space. And you look at how much cap space that opens. That's about 25 million if my math is incorrect. Is correct. About 25 million in cap space. And you do the math there, 97 minus 25 million. That's about $72 million in cap space. And the cap space was set at 115 million. So that gives the Raptors about 42, $43 million in cap space to go out and acquire some free agents. And I know I mentioned earlier Gary Trent Jr., we have his bird right, so we can go out, sign someone for a lot of money, and then re-sign Gary Trent Jr. as well. Personally, I would have liked to wait till the offseason to re-sign OG Anunoby as well. You see his 16 million is already added to that 97 million. Imagine the Raptors had 16 million extra. Now, I'm not upset with that contract. Don't get me wrong. That's a really nice bargain for OG Anunoby the way he's been playing. But imagine, because we have his bird rights, imagine if we didn't re-sign him early, we would have had extra 16 million on top of the 40 whatever million we have, and that would have given the Raptors a lot of cap space to go out and sign someone and then re-sign OG Anunoby as well. So go over that cap space. Now I want to talk about some of the Masai Ujiri's moves. We know he did not move Kyle Lowry. There were some rumors as to why he did not move Kyle Lowry. There were suggestions that he still believes the Raptors can be contenders in the offseason. I don't know what he has planned, but this is what I think he does. So you look at Gary Trent Jr., who's playing really well. He's only 22 years old. He's also, you can remember, a restricted free agent, meaning that we can match any team's offer to him. So if a team decides to offer him something crazy like 21 million, we would have the option to match that. But here's the issue now. If you're paying Gary Trent Jr. 21 million, and I want to quickly mention this as well, the Raptors have been stinking it up this season. So all of this comes in together. This is the chess pieces I was talking about the Masai Ujiri is doing. So Masai Ujiri, as we know, has not addressed that center position. I believe he's doing it intentionally. So he did not address it at the trade deadline. He's not addressing it so far in the buyout market. And the Raptors are really struggling without that center position. I think he's doing that on purpose. And you see the Raptors' odds of getting a top four pick. You never know. They might just get a top four pick. Add that on to the fact that we can sign and trade Kyle Lowry as well as Gary Trent Jr. and then maybe go out and acquire an All-Star. And you know what? You never know. Maybe the Raptors acquire an All-Star and go out and sign a key free agent. You don't know. I personally believe this is what Masai Ujiri's planning. And you want to quickly talk about these guys as well. Cade Cunningham and Evan Mobley, who are top players in this draft. So if the Raptors somehow manage to land one of these guys, on top of signing and trading someone like Kyle Lowry or even Gary Trent Jr. and signing a key free agent, I mean, that just puts them right at the top. And these are just some of the chess pieces I believe the Raptors could make. And again, I want to talk about Gary Trent Jr. as well quickly. So let's say a team were to offer him a lot of money and you could potentially sign and trade him as well. Obviously, the way he's playing and his age fits the timeline. I prefer to keep him, but if there's an all-star out there that the Raptors decide, you know what, we can sign and trade for that guy and maybe sign a key free agent. I don't want to throw any names out, but you can have a list. Look at the free agent list here. I think the Raptors are back in contention. Now, obviously, this free agency isn't very stacked, so there's obviously Kawhi Leonard is the key piece here in the free agency, and he does have that player option. I think he'll most likely opt out. And you know what? It is. I believe the Raptors are back in contention. And you also want to look at the restricted free agent list as well. So this comes back to Gary Trent Jr. or even someone like Kyle Lowry. Let's pretend The Raptors, who have been rumored to be interested in Jared Allen, now that trade obviously to Cleveland wouldn't make any sense, but there's other key guys as well. John Collins would be a nice piece, Lauri Markkanen. So we can always sign and trade Kyle Lowry to one of those teams, get get one of these guys in a sign and trade, and re-sign Gary Trent Jr. That would be a really nice young team to go forward with as well. So I truly believe that's what Masai Ujiri has been moving. He's obviously lost out on Giannis and some other key free agents as well when they re-sign, but these kind of moves really help the Raptors contend again. Now, I know a lot of fans may think this is overly optimistic, but looking at it, do we really want to doubt Masai Ujiri, the same guy who managed to pull out that DeMar DeRozan Kawhi Leonard trade? And a lot of fans were questioning him as well. So I think he's moved the pieces well for the Raptors to have a nice offseason. So they get a top 4 or 5 pick in this stacked draft. There's a lot of other guys I haven't mentioned as well. I'll save that for another video maybe, but you get a top 5 pick in a stacked draft. You can always sign and trade Kyle Lowry and Gary Trent Jr. if need be. And you know what? You have that cap space to sign a key free agent. You're right back in it. Now, I know the Raptors aren't a key destination for top free agents, but they have a lot of options going into free agency. And this includes restricted free agents as well. And we have that option of always trading Kyle Lowry, sign and trade. We know a lot of contending teams won't have cap space, so that gives the Raptors a lot of options in this free agents. Whether they decide to just go young, you know what, draft someone nice, re-sign Gary Trent Jr., and maybe make some nice low-key moves in the free agency. It gives the Raptors a lot of options moving forward as well. So I want to hear your thoughts on what you think Masai Ujiri is up to and how you see the Raptors having a good or bad offseason regarding the free agency, regarding the draft, and just what we might do with Kyle Lowry and Gary Trent Jr. as well. So leave your thoughts below in that comment section. If you're still watching this video, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments on what you think of this video as well, guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time.